Fringe North Podcast Series. So each episode will have some exciting guests from our amazing community of performers and creators who will give us an inside look into both their lives as artists and what they're bringing to the festival this season. Hello, bonjour, Annie. Hola.
And this episode, we have the pleasure to be joined by Rebeka Herron. Rebeka, thanks so much for joining.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so I usually like to start with how yourself and your work.
Oh gosh, I feel like that's like the longest sentence ever. But I think I'm just, in general, to keep it simple, a filmmaker at heart. I have worked in many different disciplinaries within the film industry, from docs to VR to live action and animation. So kind of a wide range of skills in there. And I also have been writing, acting, directing, and producing in film. So
yeah, I checked out the bio, and you've accomplished a lot. So congratulations.
Thanks.
We're definitely going to delve into that a little bit later on. But first, can you just tell me a little bit about your film that you have at the Fringe Festival this year? It's Becca and Nico.
Yeah. Becca and Nico was inspired sort of by myself and our small family dog. And I've traveled throughout Canada and lived in many different places in Canada. And the Sioux is now my home. And so I kind of wanted to create a kind of love letter to the Sioux and also make it a little bit of an educational piece to kids as well, because I work a lot in kids animation.
Very cool. So what's your experience in animation? You do the animation and you're...
No, I cannot draw. But I have a great team that I've been working with over the years, and I'm also trying to find more people in the North to work together and collaborate on. And this was one of the first projects where I had worked with an animator before, and they actually submitted to our film festival, and so that's how I met them. And they're from Thunder Bay, so we worked remotely together. And then our team here in the Sioux did some sound, and then all of the actors were from Northern Ontario. So it was really like a home kind of feeling piece.
Cool. And is this with your production company?
Yeah.
Rusty Halo?
Yeah.
Yeah. When did that start?
I started that company originally in 2012. It was one of the first things I did after graduating from film school and going out in the industry for a bit. And I was like, I need a kind of a name for my work, and
like a personal project.
Yeah.
And you've been able to do a few projects with that.
Yeah, it's kind of evolved now. It's now its own production company. It's it used to be me, and now it's my company, and it has working potentially internationally now. So it's kind of grown and expanded, and the Sioux is now the kind of home base for the company.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Well, it's exciting for the Sioux to have, a production company with these far reaches and this experience.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, right on. Have you faced any challenges or I guess it's been over 10 years since you've had the company, and obviously it's grown, but what was it like starting a company, and did you know anything about starting a company when you initially kind of had it going? Or
yeah, my first job was a producer's assistant for a big company in Vancouver, and they worked on $20 million movies for Hollywood. So I learned all of my business sense originally from there. Yeah. And then I kind of took courses and learned from other people, and I've pretty much every job I've ever had, I've learned something about the business or about what I want to or not want to do in my company, which has been very fortunate. And now it's kind of, the industry ebbs and flows. Last year, we were very fortunate. We were filming 3 projects in a row while there was a strike. And so most of my friends were not filming. But this year, we're a little bit slow, and most of them are now working. So it kind of goes back and forth. So you kind of have to be okay with that kind of lifestyle. I think that's the hardest part to learn in this business, is that not everything is 9 to 5.
Yeah. I don't know much about the film industry, but I have a lot of friends that are artists, and I'm an artist too, and it's just that that kind of lifestyle is like just you try to build schedules and whatnot and routines, but it sometimes doesn't work that way.
No,
especially in the middle of a project.
Yeah.
Some late nights may be had.
Many a late night. I think that's the nature of creative life, though.
Yeah. You can never turn it off either. Like it's not like you go home and you're like, okay, I'm not thinking about this anymore.
No, it's 24/7.
Yeah.
Finding a work-life balance has been my goal actually since like the pandemic and being in the Sioux now. Because before, when I was like in Toronto, I was I really was 24/7. I would work at a production company. I would come home and I would work at my own company. Wow. And I just like had crazy burnout. And now I'm like, okay, we need to regroup and think about how to prioritize some of that life. And being in nature, I think, is like the easiest way to help kind of get you through all of that. And here it has a lot of nature, so it's helpful.
That's awesome. So how's that shift? You're not from Sault Ste Marie?
No, I'm from Vancouver originally and have made my way here.
What has that journey been like? How have you found like living and working in the Sioux?
I like the Sioux a lot because there's a lot of things that remind me of home. Trees and water are huge in Vancouver, and that's honestly what I miss the most during my travels and work in Canada. And Vancouver is not a city for me anymore. Like I go home to visit my family and I get off the flight and I'm like, this is a weird little city now. It's like it doesn't feel like home anymore.
Wow.
Yeah. And Toronto definitely was not home. Like I like food a lot, but it was concrete and like you had to drive far to get to nice nature. And and I had worked here on a project in 2019. And when I got here, I was like, oh, wow. Like it's small and the industry is small, but there's so much potential here and so many creative people, and you don't see that a lot.
Yeah. It's I'm new to the Algoma region, but I found that with smaller communities, and I've lived in mostly smaller communities. It's you can kind of like navigate it in a way that doesn't feel like you're not an outsider. Like it's small enough that people are like, oh, you're an artist, you do something creative. Like, come on, you know, there's work to be done, and or just people are willing to kind of share their work and their excitement and passion. So that's awesome. What led you to becoming a filmmaker? Like, what was the spark? What kind of...
I think it's just always been in there somewhere. I've like looked back now since I've been in the industry now for like, oh God, forever. I feel like I first dipped my toes in when I was like 8, and I was a kid actor on a small Canadian TV show for like a summer. And honestly, I hated it. I was like, I never want to do this again. Mom, don't make me like...
Which show was it?
I don't even remember. But I just remember like being stuck in a trailer during the summer, and all my friends were playing outside, and I was like inside waiting to go on set. You know, like as a kid, that's like torture. But I have always been in the arts, and so like through my high school years, I was in band and traveled with my band all over the world playing, and then my friend was suggested I take a film and TV class in our high school, and I did, and my teacher was like, "Yo, you're really good at this," and I ended up taking summer programs and then going to university. So it's kind of like always, I think, been in there.
Yeah.
Like my mom was like, "Yeah, you used to like take the neighbor's like camcorder and go film random things and like make like edit like videos together, and like you were like, 6, 7 years old." I was like, I don't even remember any of that. So
it's so interesting that these little parts of us are actually like parts of us, It's not just decisions on a whim. Like they're actually...
it's like already like already ingrained in you somehow. And
interesting. And what is it about film that you like that inspires you? What is it about film that you feel is like a medium that is powerful, or it's a tool that like to use, and like what you want to talk about? I'm thinking like,
I think she
McLuhan in this message a little.
I think for me, what I love about the kind of film industry in a whole is that you bring all these artists and creative types together as a collaborative unit to make something. Whereas like usually if you're a painter or you're an author, it's like a single type project. You're alone. Yeah. Whereas in film, you are bringing writers and artists and wardrobe people and actors all together. And so you're bringing all these like different disciplines together and making something pretty awesome together and interpreting something, because you have the script to start, but then you have the director's version, the editor's version. Like, so there's so many different iterations of the same thing. It's really fun.
That's cool.
And then no project is ever the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are you like more of a visual person, or are you like a writer in terms of your inspiration and how you kind of start working?
I'm more of a visual person, and then I'll go into like writing. So if I like, my phone is like my best friend in that way. Like I'll like see something and I'll like make a note of it and be like, oh, this could be a story about this. Like after just seeing one thing, and then it just kind of like takes hold.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what was your experience in university? Like you went to Capilano?
Yeah, it was originally Cap College and then turned into a university while I was there. And they were one of the few places that had a hands-on film program. Yeah. Most of the other ones were theoretical, and I really wanted to like dig in and like actually get to play and like, use equipment and film. So it was 3 years. I took 3 years there, and I still am like good friend with most of my like remaining cohort from my last year, and most of them are still in the industry as well, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I remember any chance we had to take out the cameras and gear and bring it home, we did. Yeah. We were always constantly making things or like staying late at campus. We were the only people allowed to stay overnight at campus. Wow. So we would like take over campus and like film projects till like 2 a.m. and like in the rain and it was really fun.
Yeah, that's cool. That reminds me a little bit the whole like staying late on campus thing, missing the last bus.
Yeah, that happened a lot.
Yeah, I had that experience. I went to the University of Guelph and did fine arts there, and there's something about that time and age. And this is like, you're not really sure what it is like that you're trying to do, but there's just so much information and tools available.
Yeah.
And like, teachers that are really inspiring, that just kind of let you go and do it. And it's before you're kind of jaded, at least I don't know about your experience, but by like expectations of society or how like things kind of work, and it's a special time.
It is. It's like this like nice like extra sandbox moment where you like kind of get to go back to being just a kid again and like have fun and play. And
what were some of the biggest things you learned from going to school?
I was very fortunate that they took us through the beginning to the end of a project. Okay. So we learned some business, we learned development, writing, we learned how to light, we learned how to use camera, we learned how to do post. Like, so we really got the full experience of like how to make a project. And we were like most people, you go to film school, you're a director. But they also were like, no, you're not just going to direct. You're going to have to like learn how to do sound and learn how to do like gripping and lighting. So they really really taught us the basics of like a set, which when we all like graduated, we knew, when we went on like a big show, like what was happening, which was really helpful.
That's awesome. So when you graduated, you stuck around Vancouver for a little bit. You worked on the big movie set.
Yeah, I worked on a few big movies, mostly in the office as an assistant, but it was pretty fun. I met a couple like Hollywood people.
Right.
They're just like regular people.
Yeah.
They do their job and they want to go home. And then I worked in factual and reality TV. So after that, I like got to be more behind the scenes in the writing side of things.
Cool. Yeah.
Working with series producers on shows like Ice Pilots that filmed in NWT and Moms of Media, which was like a show about a lady who saw dead people and helped her community. Wow. So it was a lot of fun, and like I got to work a lot with editors and writers and
So what was that experience like? We chatted a little bit earlier about your travels like kind of across Canada. Where have some of these projects taken you?
I mean, I've kind of traveled through half of Canada now for work. So and like Yellowknife I've been there a few times. I've been in a few cities in Nunavut. I've been in Quebec. I've been in Vancouver, Alberta, Ontario. I've been to the US a bunch. And I've been as far as Indonesia.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah.
And what are the arts cultures like there? I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, that like when you're working and you're going to a place to work on film, like you're probably pretty occupied.
Yeah.
But are there different anything that's like really unique in your experiences that helps shape you or like make you decide, okay, I want to continue on this route and like continue with your production company?
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to like the storytelling work we do and the people we work with. That doesn't matter where you are. I think we always end up finding great people on every project. And you learn something new in every project, which is why I keep doing the thing I do. Because you got to keep learning. And it's weird stuff you learn, obviously. But it's kind of fun because then you're like, okay, next project, I know this now. Don't do that, or change how we do this, which is fun because it's always like evolving.
Yeah.
And working overseas was like pretty big eye-opening on just, life in general, and but also the similarities, because like I find no matter where you go, we always bump into artists who have like you end up having similar conversations about how your work is, life is here, and how theirs is over there, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I guess I've read that you're a part of or you co-founded Sioux Fringe.
Sioux Film Festival.
Or the Sioux Film Festival. This is Sioux Fringe. It's not the first time that I've said Fringe, and that
it's okay. You gotta subliminally plug the Fringe.
Yeah, it's in my mind. Always thinking about Fringe. But yeah, Sioux Film Festival, and you're a part of a number of boards.
Yeah, I'm in a bunch of different kind of like industry cohorts, I guess. And the Sioux Film Festival, we founded really to try to bring filmmakers and the community together and start appreciating collaborating on film. We're the only film festival that only highlights Northern Ontario projects. So it's really been cool to like meet filmmakers from like North Bay and Sudbury and Sturgeon Falls, and like you kind of start conversations with them, and people start collaborating together, and that's like the whole, like the best part of that.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Kind of, I guess, back to your creative process. I'm always so curious to talk to artists and to learn a little bit about their creative process, just because everyone kind of approaches things in different ways, and I don't know, I seem to learn like tips and tricks through talking to people. But one thing I find is sometimes it can be kind of isolating to work, but obviously film is a little bit different.
A little bit different.
But when you're in a project or when you're thinking of things, do you ever have like doubts, or are there like writer's block?
Oh, totally.
Do you ever feel like that kind of chaos of just not knowing what's going to happen, and how do you overcome?
All the time. Yeah, all the time. I think the not knowing and the imposter syndrome is like huge for me. But somehow the like anxiety over those things makes you like, I don't know, work harder at your craft in some way. Like it's kind of like you can't have one without the other in a weird way. And I think if I didn't have that kind of anxiety looming somewhere always in like the back of my shoulder, that I wouldn't be as far as I am.
Yeah.
I'd be more like complacent, and then you kind of get bored.
Yeah. You're like, oh, I'm good enough. I have all this experience.
Yeah. And like being bored is like, I think the worst thing for an artist. Mm-hmm. But for me, I'm trained firstly in producing so a lot of the times I come at it from a producer perspective, and then come at it from like a writer-director perspective. So I'm kind of because I wear multiple hats, I'm kind of like changing hats a lot. And then you kind of have this like internal struggle where you're like, well, I know I can only get this much dollars for this kind of project, So I have to somehow work that creatively into that, you know, like, so it becomes like a different.
So you're kind of limited sometimes creatively, in your own mind before it's even like before the idea necessarily is fully developed.
Like right now we're in
Fringe North Festival, where magic of theatre meets the multi-arts extravaganza. Experience the unexpected with captivating performances, mesmerizing music, and stunning art. Inside and outside the iconic Sault Ste Marie Museum Clock Tower, in the heart of downtown Sault Ste Marie, where history meets the arts in celebration like no other. Join us at the Fringe North Festival and make memories that will last a lifetime. Fringe North Festival. For more information, visit our website at SiouxFringe.com or find us on social media.
Soft prep on a film I'm hopefully shooting this July, and we're shooting it for like out of my pocket money, right? So that I already know like the limitations, but because of what we have gained and grown and the company, I have some resources that were already kind of like built in that are like free, that would not necessarily happen if I didn't have all that stuff. And so it's kind of kind of like piecing the puzzle.
Like, okay, but I can do this. Sometimes limitations also like spark some really interesting like technical creativity.
Yeah, definitely. Like we built for this project, we built a set in our office. And I mean, it's not the biggest set, but it's a set, and it's looking really cool. But it was all made of like recycled props and flats from other past projects that we had in our office, and so we've kind of like scoured the office to like find things that will like work for this project. And now we're talking about how we're going to film it, and which is always the fun part, is like now I get to collaborate with the director of photography and figure out how we're going to film economically. We're working with like people in the community who are interested in acting, but they're not like professional actors. So now we're working around their schedules because they have jobs. So it's like, you know, it becomes this like whole like thing of like figuring out when and how, and it's kind of fun.
That's amazing. How do you approach the like reaching out to the folks in the community? Do you have a call out or?
Yeah, I did like a casting call just like the theater communities do here. And I mean, we do that in the film industry as well. So we had auditions at our office, and, you know, I was like anybody interested, just come audition. And so it was fun. It was nice to see like people from the theater world coming, or like kids who are just like starting to be interested in acting come. And
that's awesome. I'm just gonna check the time because usually when I'm on Zoom I think study it's
all good.
So okay, anyways, sorry. And I just lost my train of thought. Okay. This one, I'm kind of interested in, what kind of advice you've been given in all of your experiences. You seem to have a lot of experience in your tool belt. What's some of the best advice you've been given?
I think it's just not to overly doubt yourself. Like there will always be that like internal thinking of, you know, but at the end of the day, it's like, you know, you can do it. You've gotten this far. Yeah. This is just another step forward and another step forward. I find like that's the driving force, and then just surround yourself with like good people. Yeah.
That's important. People that support you and believe in your journey.
And also who are like invested in their own journey sometimes, right? Like I work with a lot of folks, and my main objective is to find out what they're like interested in too. So like I can kind of like, maybe not this project, but later projects, I can like maybe work with them in that capacity and things like that.
Cool. Yeah. What are some future projects? Do you have any, like, I don't know if you can disclose any, but do you have kind of a vision or a plan for kind of what's next? Grand scheme too. Like, do you have any goals?
I mean, we're, continuing to like hopefully grow the industry here, and like my goal would be to have a like fully running film industry here, which would be nice, like Sudbury, where so many filmmakers and crew members end up leaving the Sioux to go work. where it'd be nice if they could just stay home and work, you know? So working on that's like the like big goal. And then other than that, like we have some kids projects we're developing and some games we're now developing and live action projects.
So what are the games? Kind of like video games?
Yeah, like video games for kids.
Wow.
Mostly.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What do you think the biggest challenges are for building a film industry here in the Sioux?
I think it's just knowledge, really. I think like not very many people know about what the film industry is or like and what the benefits are. And I think people are starting to learn like, you know, like what that can bring to the community and
it can employ a lot of people.
It can employ a lot of people who are out of work. And the cool part about our industry is that we really need every type of person because running a film is like running a business or a village, really.
Yeah.
You need construction people. You need nurses sometimes. You need accountants and you need lawyers and, you know, you need kind of like all these different people to come together to make something, which I think is like people don't realize that mostly they think like, oh, you need a director and you need actors and maybe a writer and a camera guy. But you need a lot more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How is your experience? Like I read that you're on a number of boards. Are you still?
I don't think so.
Oh no, I thought it was the film board like a film board in Toronto.
No, I was a member of that. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. We can skip that. Yeah. Sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, good. No, I belong to a bunch of like associations and unions in the industry. So I'm like a member that way.
Yeah, cool. And how does that inform some of the work you do? Like I'm assuming, well, unions are really important. I know that there's like a kind of a struggle in the film.
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of it, you know, they keep everybody more up to date on the world and things. Like right now, the biggest conversation is AI, right?
Right.
And how do we effectively use that as a tool or not use it as a tool depending on what you're doing. And so there's a lot of discussions right now about that. And then the general discussions about like labor laws or policies. Like for the Producers Association, we deal with a lot of like policy discussions about funding and the CRTC. So a lot of regulatory things. So it's nice, like, because you get to learn, like, you hear updates and everything from there. But and then, you know, just like you get to have a voice in the industry. We do a mixture of non-union and union stuff. So it depends on the project, really.
Cool. Yeah. Touch on the hot topic, AI. I don't know if you talk about it too much. But how do you utilize it? How do you see it being used in your work?
I think for us, we've had this discussion a lot in the office with our team, is using it as a tool, not replacing people, but using it to aid in the work that we do. Yeah. Like there's so much technology now that I feel like if we don't jump on some of this, we're going to be way behind. And then we're also not going to be as cost effective in some ways with other people. Like, I'm not saying we should go make the new Toys R Us Sora made movie where like nobody is in there.
Yeah.
But I'm saying like maybe we use AI to help us stabilize a shot better, you know, versus, you know, having to manually frame by frame track it.
Yeah. You're not replacing the artist.
No, I'm not replacing the person doing the work. I'm just giving them a tool to help them do the work. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I guess, do you have any advice on film or anyone that's interested in pursuing film? Do you have any wisdom or advice to impart?
I think the main thing is that it's so accessible now. Like you can take a phone and make a film.
Yeah.
Like it's, you know, and like big directors have done this where they've used cell phones to make films. And I think now we're like in this new age of accessibility that there's really just go out and try it for the first time. I think just don't be afraid. You don't need to make like a feature film. You can make like a 1-minute project or a 30-second project to just start small and then build from there. And
cool.
Yeah.
And last, I think, is there anything or any person that inspires you to make your work? This is kind of a loaded question. So there's anything that, like, topics or previous work that really inspires you and makes you want to keep going?
I think it's more like people who inspire me and stories of like that I read. I'm not necessarily, this was like always a question on every grant funding application is like, what female filmmaker inspires you? And I'm like, I don't even know. Like I'm more like interested in the people or like the stories that inspire me to keep going. Or like I watch some new way someone has like rotoscoped an animation project. I'm like, that is so cool. And now like that inspires me to like start thinking of like ways we could do something similar to that or try something new. Like we have I think this summer our goal is to further develop mocap in our studio because we do so much animation, and I'm now like seeing all this new technology and like the way that mocap has changed over the years, and I'm like, and I'm talking to friends who work like big studios doing mocap and like getting their opinions, and I'm like, okay, like that is cool to me, and like seeing things like that.
What is mocap?
Motion capture.
Oh, okay.
It's like used a lot in video games, especially sports video games, where like you're in a volume and you have like cameras everywhere, and you have like, depending on what you're either wearing like a suit or you have like dots all over you, and they're filming each, and you're doing the motions, and then they bring it into like the computer and animate it. Yeah,
very cool.
Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah.
Nice. Do you have any anything that you want to tell our listeners of like projects that are coming up? I know Rebeka and Nico will be at Fringe North this year.
Yeah.
But any ways that viewers can see your work?
I mean, on my website kind of has a list of projects that we have. Or just follow me on social media. We post a lot about our projects and where to watch them next. Yeah. Most of them right now are in festival circuit, so they're kind of been all over the place. Like Rebeka and Nico, it's at Fringe, but it's also now playing in Spain in September and things like that.
Right on.
Yeah,
that's exciting.
So
well, congratulations on all your accomplishments. It's been such a pleasure to chat with you.
Thanks. To sign out.
Yeah. So thank you everyone for joining us. Merci, miigwech, gracias. Just a reminder that Fringe North 2024 will be from August 21st to the 25th. Please check out our website and all our social media channels in the description below, and we'll also tag your website, Lark Productions, as well. You can find the link for in the bio as well. We will be back next week for another episode of Fringe North Podcast, and thank you again so much, Rebeka, for joining.
Thanks for having me, Emelie.
Hooray there! I'm the Hitherso, the proud mascot of Fringe North 2024. You'll see me swaying in the wind throughout the festival, just like I do in the beautiful shorelines of Manitoulin Island. I'm an artist in my own right, bringing a touch of natural beauty wherever I go. Fringe North is all about celebrating the vibrant arts community in the north. And guess what? 100% of our box office sales go straight to paying the amazing artists who bring the festival to life. But to keep the magic going, we need your help. If you spot me around the festival, feel free to ask me questions or discover cool facts about Fringe North. And most importantly, tip the Fringe. Your support helps us to continue to bring this incredible festival back year after year. So, want to support Fringe North? Tip the Fringe and let the arts flourish. Remember, Fringe North, expect the unexpected. For more information on how to tip the Fringe, head on over to SueFringe.com.